All right. Hey, gang. Welcome to the Inside WAG Nutrition Podcast. Thanks for listening. Hey, today we have a really special one on deck. So, Chris, want to do the intro? Want to do the honors?
It would be my honor. Today we have Tatum McCann, and Tatum is an Olympic weightlifter and strength coach for Primal International. She's been working with Coach Nicole, keeping her health and nutrition on track, and is part of the WAG Ambassador program. She is also the first guest we have ever had where we need to actually look at her IMDb credits. So that's pretty cool. It turns out she was in the movie Click with Adam Sandler and the Time Traveler's Wife. But we all know her from all of her fun posts on IG, Instagram, TikTok, promoting her love of Olympic lifting and nutrition and everything that comes with it. So Tatum, welcome to the show.
Hi, y'all. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited for this.
Cool. We are too.
Yeah. And you know what? Normally we'd offer an Inside WAG discount, and we would save that for the end, but we really want people to know about that at the beginning. And since Tatum is our very special guest today, let's just get that right at the forefront to help everyone out. So if you go to workingagainstgravity.com/join and type in Tatum's code, Tatum50, it'll take $50 off your first month of either our Essentials program or our NCP Nutrition Coaching Plus. That's Tatum, TATUM 50.
Yeah.
All right. Official business is out of the way. Let's get into it.
Let's get into it. Tatum, it's awesome to meet you. I wanted to ask right away, let's get right into the background of things. Like, where are you from? Where you living now? Who do you share your life with? Let's talk. Let's hear all about it.
Alrighty. So I'm from Long Beach. I'm SoCal born and raised.
Okay.
So this is, I guess, not technically born, but I got here before I was cognizant. So born and raised.
For all intensive purposes, born and
For
raised.
all intents and purposes. I don't remember ever living anywhere else. I'm from Long Beach. So I'm still in the SoCal area. I didn't venture far for school. I went to Malibu, and then I came right back to Long Beach. This is my home, so I've been here. This is where, again, I'm a SoCal girly. I really am. Awesome. I love it. This is my happy place. And then, who I share my life with. My apartment doesn't allow pets, so not pets.
No pets.
No, but I have my partner both in life and in business. His name is Jesse. We've been together for about 5 years, and he's my co-coach and business partner with Primal. So we've been working on that for a good 3 and something years as well. That's kind of like my human.
My human.
Oh, I love that.
So did you, excuse me, did you guys start Primal together?
Yeah, we did.
Oh, right on. Okay. I wasn't sure about that because it said Primal Coach. I didn't know if you were like working for another, company, quote unquote. But that's cool. You guys started that. Excellent.
Yeah, that's us. We're co-owners. We started that back in 2020 when everything was chaos. And we're like, what are we going to do with our lives now? And I'm on track for my life plan. I'm a planner personally. At 15 years old, my AP US history teacher had us write letters being like, where are we going to be in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 25 years, so on and so forth. And in 5 years, when we were all in college, he was going to mail them out to us, which he did. And I opened mine, and I was on track.
Wow.
On track. I wanted to go
Good
to college.
for you.
I thought I would be for business. I went for marketing. So we had a very slight deviation there, but where I went to school, what I was going to do after, everything on track. I'm a planner.
Wow.
So I was like, all right, this is the time.
Yeah. What affirmation.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Your little time capsule to yourself. You must have photocopied it and made sure you stayed the trajectory, huh?
I totally forgot about it. I just didn't know exactly what where my passion lies. Since I found weightlifting when I was in high school. So I knew that this is what I wanted to spend my life doing.
Oh, that's amazing. Let me ask you this. When you did that exercise, I mean, if you remember this or not, but did you write it down or did you type it?
Handwritten.
Do you remember? Handwritten.
No.
See, yep. I am a firm believer, and I have no way of proving this, and I don't know if people have proved it to be true or not, but I'm a big time proponent of writing down your goals. Something happens between here and the actual physicality of writing something down.
Yes.
And I think like whether you're like doing lifting and you're like going for these like big PRs, or you have a meet and you're like, I need this total, and you write it on your mirror, you know, like I've done that, all that stuff. Like I 100% believe that there's something to it. And it's just like, you're proving, I want to thank you very much because you're proving me right. And that's very important.
It's Josh's favorite.
Oh my God. That's awesome though. And you just touched on it a little bit, but you found weightlifting in high school, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
so I was a sophomore in high school. Yeah, sophomore in high school. My older sister, I have many siblings, but my older sister was also weightlifting. She went to college for softball and then hated the team, but really liked the lifting part of it. So she was like kind of helped to found their weightlifting team and everything. And I went up to visit her for a weekend because I went up to visit her for a weekend. And she still had to train. She wasn't going to take a weekend off to hang out with her little sister. So we were in the weight room at her college, and her coach was a wonderful man. So scary to cross-country running 85-pound 15-year-old Tatum, who was like, okay, cool. Yeah. And he's like, hey, if you're in my weight room, you're lifting. And I was like, I have no idea what to do here. I run distance. I've never touched a weight in my life. My sister tried to teach me once, and we just got into an argument. Don't coach your siblings. No. So he was like, no, you're in my weight room. You're lifting. And I was like, okay, whatever you say. And on that day, we worked through snatches. I cried twice. And 9 years later, here we are.
Wow.
Whoa. That gave you the bug, huh?
It did, yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So how did you get into it in high school in terms of like, was it more or less like a sport? Did you look at it as like a fitness thing, or did you look at it as like a challenge to overcome? Like, what was that like adaptation from, doing what you had done before running mostly, and then focusing on this intense sport that requires a lot of discipline, because they're technical movements. They're not for everyone.
That's true. Yeah, so I got joint issues. I'm hypermobile through like almost all of the joints in my body, which leads to its own distinct set of challenges. And when you are developing your joints for the first time, being in like the teenage years, and you're running like 10 or so miles every single day, it hurts your knees. So I was like, okay, I'm going to get on top of this. I'm going to strengthen all of the muscle around it. It'll help to support the joint. Like I figured as much in my youth, like, oh, this will help me with running. And then this will just be good. Like it's good to be stronger. So over a small course of time, like I got my dad to go into the gym with me. It was right down the street from his work. So I was like getting a ride from him. He had to go back and forth, pick me up from school to go bring me over to the gym. Or when I finally got my license, I just like met him over there. So we were working out together, just doing like your bro stuff. You're like squat, bench, dead, like normal bro bodybuilder-esque kind of deals. And I was doing like a little bit of weightlifting just off to the side, trying to figure it out on my own because my sister was still off at college and no one at my gym weightlifted. They didn't even have like a women's bar. They had bumper plates though. That is how we found this. My sister bought her own barbell and they had bumper plates. So she just lugged in her bar every day, would lift with it, and then like brought it back out every day.
Like a G.
Which turned into me when she was like off at a different gym and all of that. I took her bar that she bought and I lugged it in every day in my 1997 Toyota RAV4, bringing it out. And then I would take it home every day, clean it, and bring it back the next time. So we're just going back and forth. And then slowly I started moving more and more towards the Olympic stuff. I realized that cardio is the worst and I no longer had any desire to run. That's not a thing.
Speaking Chris's language.
Yeah.
Chris is like, let's go.
Let's go. Let's talk shit about cardio. Let's do it.
It's really what I live for. is
Yeah.
not doing cardio.
Hear ye, hear ye.
So I got more into that. When my sister would be down for a weekend, she would help me out with stuff. She would just take like a piece of paper or rip a page out of a notebook and be like, all right, this is what you're doing this week. I'm like, okay. It was probably terrible. Actually, it was terrible. I have a few videos from back in the day, but that was before everything got recorded, you know?
Sure. Yeah.
Only PR attempts got recorded and written down. Everything else was just lifting.
Yeah.
So I got into that. At 17, I did my first comp. We did like a mock comp a little bit before that because she was working at a CrossFit gym. And then at 17, I did my first comp and I qualified for, I think it was technically youth or youth nationals. But that was also when I started dealing with excruciating hip pain. Yeah. So I've had 2 surgeries on my right hip because I tore through my labrum, and then I had to get a femoral osteoplasty. So they like went in and like shaved my bone down.
Oof.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, that sounds brutal.
So how old were you? I know there's a timeline because you had a few surgeries, but how old were you for your first one and then your follow-up after that?
2021. It took a couple years because they didn't want to cut open a teenager, which fair.
Sure.
So we went through like a bunch of different rounds of physical therapy, a bunch of different rounds of imaging. I don't know how many x-rays. They just kept sending me back. And I'm like, obviously it's not a bone issue.
Right.
You guys have taken x-rays. My bones have not changed.
Right. Yeah.
They're still there. I promise. Yeah. So it took a few years of trying to go through physical therapy to no avail, and then trying to work through other means to like finally get a doctor to actually like listen. And they're like, look, if you're saying that you're in pain every day, like this is probably what it is. You're screening mostly for it, but we got to get in there. It's hard to diagnose because of the hypermobility. My joint moves too much. So he went in there and he's like, oh yeah, you tore through that. So I got Kevlar in my hip now, which is pretty cool. I got a very partially bulletproof hip, as I like to claim, but no one should touch
upgrade. Very nice.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, right? This is the future, then, you know?
Yeah. So that was 2019. So I was 20. And then my second one was in 2021 because I went through the full like 6 months of return to sport. And so the return to sport was just as painful. And I was like, this seems maybe not right. So he sent me over to someone else and she was like, oh yeah, your hypermobility means that like extra chunk of bone that wouldn't bother anyone else. Yeah, it's going to bother you. You're re-tearing through your labrum. I'm like, bro, I just got that replaced. So she went in, shaved that painful. Down. Yeah, it was. I'm not going to lie. I was gaslighting the pain off. I was like, nah, this doesn't hurt. I'm just being soft for like 4 years.
Damn.
Turns out it did hurt. Yeah.
It turns out it was real. It was not just a figment of your imagination. There was real pain, real issues going on. Yo, that's I mean, to me, listening to stories like that, like in the weightlifting world, there's people come up with different issues, you know, a lot of like joint issues and things like that. Usually, you know, you hear stories of people being able to rehab them and, you know, take some time off, do some PT exercises, things like that. But coming back from 2 surgeries is pretty intense. Like, that's pretty gnarly.
Yeah, me and physical therapists get along great. I'm like, dude, I got this. I already know everything you're going to tell me. I've been doing this for years. We're just going to hang out the whole time.
So post, you know, or I guess, you know, dealing with all those surgeries and the injuries and things like that, obviously that's got to like scale down your training and your focus and your intensity and kind of maybe put some speed bumps in your way. But what was the evolution of your weight training or, you know, Olympic weightlifting during high school? And then as that evolved post high school in dealing with these injuries, like how did that all go about? Like, can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, so I realized that there were some things that I could do. Like even when your body hates you, there's always like something that you can do. And I was a firm believer in that. So I was 17, like trying to figure that out. So taking a lot of time of like, hey, I'm going to take 2 weeks, kind of scale it back. Don't go above like 60, 70%. Just like really focus on getting the technical work down. Take this time to do what I can. And that 2 weeks happened like for months. Of like, okay, this isn't happening. Then it turned into powers. I spent like a good 2 years basically doing no like strength training. It was doing powers because breaking parallel was very painful. No squatting, no deadlifting, very little overhead press. That wasn't because of my hip. That's just because I hate overhead work. And I didn't have the discipline to make myself do it at that point.
Fair.
So it was just like, all right, power cleans, power snatches every day. And split jerks. Power cleans, power snatches, and split jerks. I was like, these don't hurt. I'm just going to keep doing them.
Sure.
So in high school, I was training like a good 5-6 days a week. Once the hip stuff, it just kind of naturally got brought down. I went off to college. I didn't have a gym that I could train at every single day. I started coaching at their CrossFit gym for the sake of being able to use it whenever I wanted to. That is the correct strategy, to be able to get into a gym whenever you want, though. Just work there. It's fantastic.
100%. Yep.
So I started coaching at their CrossFit gym on campus and working through that. So I got in lifting like, again, 4 or so days a week pretty consistently. I said no squatting. It was very rare. I have a distinct memory of being in one of my finals weeks at college doing party tricks. I love party tricks. That's what you see a lot on my like Instagram. That's what started that. I'm a sucker for weightlifting party tricks. So like anything that you're like, that's stupid and you shouldn't do it. I want to do it. It makes me want to. Just I don't think people are supposed to be able to do this.
Give us an example, because I've seen you do like one of the videos you put up like more recently was just like kind of like a quick clip roll of like doing like drop snatches and snatch balances and like things like that, or like pulls off of blocks and stuff. There's like nothing that I don't know. Give us an example. I don't see you about it.
One of the videos, I think the video that I had like the most success with thus far on Instagram is me doing a squat. I think it was a front squat, but I'm not 100% certain on that one. Where I just like sit all the way with my butt to the floor. The peaks, the like perks of hypermobility are that I can, and the long femurs is I can get my actual butt to touch the floor with my feet flat on the ground.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah. So like party trick. People aren't supposed to be able to do that.
This is true.
Or doing even like pistol squats where you just go all the way to the floor and then pop back up. Like party tricks.
Cool.
Okay. I love that. I was thinking more like, I back squatted 350 pounds on a Bosu ball or something like that. You know, something like training for the circus type stuff, you know?
That's fair. Those things are fun. Doing like the sissy squats all the way to the floor and then standing back up from there. Yeah, that one was hard. That one took me like 2 hours to be able to be like, I'm certain I can figure this out. And also, I don't want to do my actual accessories.
I was going to say, that's like... You're having fun with training. So what? That's like hearing about that. Considering all the hip issues that you've had, that's even more impressive to me. Like now that you're all fixed up, you had crazy range of mobility before, and now it's like even or maybe not better, but just as good as it was before.
Yeah, it's about the same. We just kind of took all the stuff that was getting in the way, because I grew wrong and fixed it.
Yeah, and you're pain-free now. I don't want to kick it back to the surgery and stuff, but are you
I would largely
okay.
pain-free. Orthopedic surgeries are like this fun thing where I don't think you're ever actually pain-free coming back from them. A day is a little bit too cold, and you're like, oh my gosh, it is aching like nonsense. Like the rain hit. You know how like they say like old people would be like, I can feel the rain coming. It's in my knees. Yeah, I have a rain hit, which is pretty fun.
Okay.
I mean, maybe not super fun, but like it's a fun thing to have. So like stuff like that, or like you stand for too long, or something just feels like a little bit off. The stability still has issues on there, but largely pain-free. I'm definitely able to train on it with the intensity that I want to. There's just occasionally stuff comes up. You gotta go back to working through your PT exercises and trying to accept that you're going to have a hip shift forever.
Yeah.
Yeah. And constantly staying vigilant of that, working around that has got to keep you very mindful of your training too, which is probably a healthy thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
good. That's great to hear. What does today, what does your daily training look like today? Like what are some specific goals that you might be working on right now? Or how have your goals changed in recent years? Or has it always kind of been the same, just constant pursuit of betterment?
I think actually, I mean, there's always the constant pursuit of betterment. That's kind of just been the thing. Like, I want to be stronger. I'm 5 feet tall. I generally sit around 100-ish pounds. I'm not a big person. I want to be strong. Like, I want to have that going for me at least. So that's like a big part of it. I just want to be strong. I want to be good at my sport. I think that weightlifting is beautiful. When done well, the Olympic lifts are beautiful. They're like a dance to me. And I love that. I want my lifts to look pretty, which is why I'm so trying to find the right word that doesn't have like a terrible connotation to it. I'm very detail oriented. There we go. We'll use that one.
Okay.
We'll use an interview word here. That sounds good. Very detail oriented with that. But like short term, I'm doing AO2s in a couple weeks. That's mostly just for giggles though. I haven't competed as a 49 since I came back from from those hip surgeries. I went to nationals as a U25 and competed as a 49. And then after that, I was like, I'm kind of sitting between weight classes. So for the past few years, I've cut down to a 45. That is how I started working with y'all. And Nicole has been an absolute godsend in my life because trying to get down to 45 kilos is not as easy of a task as it used to be.
Sure.
Yeah. So this is going to be me re-entering the weightlifting world, a weight class up, and humbling myself to know that like I'm not going to be medaling. I'm not going to be incredibly competitive at this weight class yet. That's a part of it. Got to accept being a little bit bigger and try and get my strength to meet where my body wants to stay.
Sure. I love that. I'm sure Nicole has talked to you about this before, but one of the things that we talk about often as a staff, and we bounce ideas off of each other, whether it be like, hey, I have a client that's cutting for, worlds, or I have a client who's trying to come up in weight classes. We kind of pick each other's brains if we're stuck. And one of the things that we really encourage people to do is use weightlifting as a vehicle to get stronger and build into a weight class rather than use it as an excuse to do this extreme cut, which unfortunately I feel is very, very common. And again, I'm sure Nicole talked to you about the benefits of coming up, or maybe it was you that was like, I'm sick of this. Like, I would like to perform better at a 49 and I would like to go up to that, So could you tell us a little bit about that conversation that you had and how you ultimately, you kind of shared it a little bit, but how you ultimately came to the decision to move up and your level of comfort with coming up in the weight class too?
So the decision to move down to 45s was because back in the day when I first started competing, it was a 48. 48 was the class. Yes. 48, comfortable sitting weight. Then they changed the weight classes. And 1 extra kilo doesn't seem like a lot, but it really can be. Like in a sport like this, it very much can be. So when I was competing as a 49, I was weighing at like 47 flat without even trying to cut, or like 46 and some change. And I was like, okay, I'm sitting closer to that class. It feels like an easier, like more wise decision to just cut down to a 45 where I'll do better, like competitively, because I'm bigger cutting down and I'm already like basically there. And then the cut to get there, once I had added on more strength training and gotten bigger, got significantly more difficult. And I had to realize that I'm not like 19, 20 anymore. I'm grown. Again, 5 feet tall, 100-ish pounds. But like, I'm grown.
Yeah.
That's a running joke about me having stopped growing in middle school. which is accurate. Yeah, so I had the talk. It had been debated. I wasn't sure about cutting down to 45s this year. But I was like, look, I'm going to hire a nutrition coach who I know, like, they know what they're doing. They work with weightlifters. They know the sport inside and out. And if we can make this, so this cut is not miserable, it's like manageable, it's attainable, then I think cutting down to 45s is still the right choice. But if I have the help of someone, like, I'm not trying to do this myself, I have the help of someone who knows what they are doing, and this is like the worst still, I'm never doing it again. And it was. She was great. She did everything that she could. But when you're cutting down that much and having to, like, I had to water cut pretty harsh, it makes it so you can't actually lift. Yeah. Like this last nationals, I put out my like competition total was, I think, the worst competition total I've ever had, and is the worst weightlifting day I have had in over a year. Because I was just so like drained and dehydrated. I was like, I'm like embarrassed of the performance that I put out, because I didn't even hit like 80% of my lifts.
Wow.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, I'm not doing this again. I would rather suck and be able to perform in a way that I'm proud of than be better in a weight class, but not feel like I'm actually competing.
Yeah.
So that's a big part of it. Nicole had already, I was like, I'm kind of playing with the idea, and she's like, please stop doing this to yourself.
That's a relieving moment for a coach, when there was like that radical acceptance of like, do you want to keep fighting this fight, or do you want to like, let's stick our heels in and gain some traction and like show you another way, like another possibility? Because there is that riding that fine line of like, is the goal to make weight, or is the goal to perform well and be a really formidable athlete here, you know? And it's like rectifying those two things, because there is riding that fine line to get you there. And there is what stood out to me was that you said that, I want this to be comfortable, sustainable, and achievable. And it's cool that you even had the awareness that that's possible before getting the nutrition coaching that showed you that that is actually a possibility, instead of what you've known, which is that struggle to continue fighting for this thing that was hard to obtain.
Yeah. And that's the thing. And I think that coaching has created like an even better perspective for me on this, because I would never allow my athletes to put their bodies through what I was happy to do to myself.
Wow.
And my coach was telling me the same thing. He's like, you need to stop cutting down. Like, you're not a 45. And I was like, just give me 1 year. So we agreed. He gave it to me. We did it. And I had to come to that decision on my own. And I did. And I'm very pleased with it, because now I'm cutting down to 49 for AO2. And I had fun eating after the 3-month restriction of trying to get down to 45s. So we're cutting down to 49 now.
Wow.
We're still a little heavy.
Yeah, but what a change.
Pleasant. This cut is easy.
Yeah. You've made a couple posts about it. And I was excited that you were coming on the show during it, so we could talk about it, and how much different it's been this time around. So that's awesome. So you're sitting. So currently, I have to see when this is coming out. But currently, at the time of this interview, you're a little over 49. So you're cutting down just a little bit, correct?
Yeah, I'm sitting at like 50 and some change, but also I'm drinking like 2 gallons of water a day, and I still have carbs in my system. Sure.
And I mean, what are your macros at right now? This is just total nerd talk.
I got you. We're at 110 protein, 120 carbs, 37 fats.
Gotcha. Okay.
Nice.
Good.
And you're doing a little bit of a water cut?
So we'll see. I'm hoping to not super have to water cut. I'm kind of, Nicole makes me drink water. We had that talk. She makes me drink water because I was terrible about my water intake forever. I don't drink water. I would drink Monster, and I would drink coffee, and I would drink pre-workout. But all of my water had a caffeine content to it.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, I think I've probably had less than 8 ounces of water today. And she's like, Tatum, no. I don't know how you're alive right now.
Yeah, that's you have not all the stimmies in you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned
Personally, I decided that maybe I should cut back on the caffeine a little bit. We're down to like sometimes a Monster, but not every day. I don't have a
Good for
pre-workout that
you.
I'm in love with right now because the company that I loved the pre-workout for got acquired, so they're redoing their formulas, and I'm sad.
Oh
So it's like a
no.
Monster occasionally, coffee in the morning, and I just drink water now, which is
I just
wild.
drink water. I just drink water now. Like,
You know,
Yeah, have you guys
like a
heard of
human
this?
being.
well, you mentioned 2 gallons, and I was like, right off the bat, I was like, oh, she's loading.
Wow.
You
Yeah.
know, like, but if you're a 2 gallon a day kind of person now, then more power to you. I love that.
Yeah, we're like between
Um,
a gallon and a half, 2 gallons on like most days.
wow. Do you feel better?
Yes. Oh my God,
Are,
drinking water is
are,
crazy.
are you
Drinking water and
like
eating protein, like I'm a whole new person.
yeah? This is something that I talk to people about all the time. It's like you're really like missing out on a lot of like clarity, and you just feel better. Like I could go into like a bunch of different things, but it's like overall you're just like you feel so much better when you're hydrated. And I
Yeah.
actually read statistic one time that um, most sports related injuries are related to dehydration. So football player pulls a muscle, weightlifter has hamstring problem or like a low back tension or like something's going on with their shoulder. A lot of times stuff like that is completely can be completely mitigated, I should say, with better hydration practices. So I mean, I don't doubt that at 2 gallons a day you're feeling like like let's go, like you're feeling pretty good about it.
Yeah,
Hmm.
um
I honestly thought that. I was like, this is nonsense. Water is not that important. Like, no one actually feels that much better drinking water. It's fine. And then I did it, and I was like, okay, we're going to eat that. I was wrong.
yep.
Mm.
You're like, all right, you
Yeah.
win.
It's
You win.
the life force and the preservation.
Yeah.
That's so awesome. Yeah, God. Yeah, I hope everyone listens to that. Like, if you're listening right now, make sure to pick up that water bottle and take a sip of water,
Yeah.
Be good to yourself. um, Next question for you, Tatum, is we want to learn more about how like your own coaching style has been influenced through the years of like your
Yep.
early years, because that is quite impressive that you got into the sport at such a young age. Like, I'm jealous of that. I wish I'd found fitness nutrition and my sense of like ownership of that at a much younger age than I
Yeah.
did. I
Same.
did it in my 30s. So, but it's never late. You can always, make change happen today. But so, like, tell us more about your coaching style in terms of like being a strength coach, what it is that you want to apply to your clients, and what are the clients that you enjoy working with the most?
Ooh, okay. My coaching style definitely has evolved over the years. I started doing like an internship, which means free labor, at a CrossFit gym before I got my L1. Well, like, yeah, just stick this 17-year-old to coach this class. She'll be fine.
Yeah, it'll be
Um,
all right.
Yeah.
it was. So I mean, they weren't like totally wrong. So I started coaching, like actually working with other people as athletes when I was 17. Um,
Wow.
I got my
Wow.
CrossFit
Okay.
L1 when I was 18, like barely 18. Because I was like, okay, I'm gonna
Wow.
actually get paid if I have the right certifications for this.
Sure.
So
Sure.
I'll get the L1. So I did that. But my focus even then, I just liked weightlifting. Like the CrossFit stuff was fine, and cardio is theoretically good for you. I feel about cardio the same way I used to feel about water. So we'll see if that ever changes.
Yeah.
But like at this point in time, I feel like I banked enough cardio when I was running in high school that like I'm good for the rest of my life.
Yeah,
That's not how
totally.
that works.
Banked
I need to be
cardio.
clear. I'm aware that's not how it works, but I'm gonna continue to lie to myself.
Yeah.
Um,
Love it.
yeah. So I started when I was pretty young, and definitely was not like an assertive person in the slightest. Like the ability to like tell someone they're doing something wrong, I was like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to make them feel bad. Yeah, I
Mm.
don't so much have that in me anymore. It's part of growing up. So
Yeah.
I continued
Confidence in your own
coaching.
abilities. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, crazy. So I continued coaching at a CrossFit gym in college, and then a few years into college, or my junior year, I guess. I only did 3 years of college. I graduated in three because I didn't want to have to pay for another year of tuition. So I just like put my head down and pounded that out as quickly as I could.
That's awesome.
Wow,
you.
get
So-
it done.
My last year of college, I got my NASM cert, and I started working for a 24-hour fitness over in Woodland Hills. A couple months into that, I had my second hip surgery, so I was like, oh, sorry, gotta go on leave. And then I came back for a couple months, and then COVID hit. So, like, I didn't super personal train. I theoretically personal train. Like, I had a couple clients. They were pretty cool. We hung out, still follow them on Instagram. But, like, you know, that wasn't so much there. And again, my goal as a trainer was mostly to convince people how good weightlifting is for them, so that I could spend all day coaching weightlifting. And
Cool.
then COVID hit,
like that.
everything kind of like, I finished college in 2020. So my final class was like submitting a final online and then just like logging out of Zoom, which is incredibly anticlimactic. Let me tell you, that was a bummer. So I like walked out of my room because I moved back into my parents' house because I was living in like the Woodland Hills area. It's like, I don't want to pay rent when I'm like not going to school up here. Thought I had a few more months to figure this jazz out, but apparently not. That's cool. Like moved back in with my parents for a couple months to figure out what I was doing. That lasted like 2 months and I was gone again. But you know, I like walked out of my room at my parents' house. I was like, so I guess I just finished college. And they're like, oh, it's nice. And like, that was
Nice.
yeah, like, that's cool. Like, I'm not going to get a graduation or anything. So like, this is it. Cool.
Wow.
Yeah. So after that, our gym reopened because we had an outdoor area in June, like when that was starting to be allowed.
Yeah.
And we were lifting, Jesse and I were lifting in my parents' garage. The owner of our gym let people take home like some equipment, like let us borrow because it's like, look, you're not going to be in here anyway. Like no one's using it, and just lent it out. And I've been at the gym since I was 15. So he was like, you're not going to go anywhere. You still drove back every other weekend when you were living in Malibu to come lift at my gym. Like, you're good. So he lent some equipment. I had already had my own personal bar. I got that a few years back. Jesse had his as well. So we're just doing what I can. I was still like rehabbing from surgery number 1. And like I did my like first squat in my parents' brush because that's where we were, surrounded by like tools and a sawhorse. Like, you know, so it's a garage. So went through that, and then coming back, we're like, look, I want to coach. I know that that's what I want to do. Maybe I'm not like totally ready. I had my USAW for a couple years, and I've worked with some athletes individually. I've been coaching Jesse for a couple years at this point. So I've like had experience. I work with athletes, but like the idea of actually making it something, not just like, yeah, this is something that I kind of do when I get a couple $100 or whatever this is. Like, no, like this is going to be a business. We sat down, figured out the business plan, figured out where we were going to go from there. And then acquiring athletes is actually the easy part. That's not something that we're like super actively do. It just kind of happens. Which is like pretty
Do you find
cool.
that's through like word of mouth or just organically people finding you, or how do you feel
Yeah, mostly
that
they
works?
like walk into the gym and then they're like, what is that? And we're like, the best thing in the world. Would you like to try? And then we can't help it. Like even people who we're not actively working with, like if I see you weightlifting, I'm going to go up and talk to you. It's the only thing I'll talk to strangers about is weightlifting, but I will go up and talk to you about weightlifting. I'm like, hey, so do you know what you're doing here? I'm like, oh, you're doing power cleans. You a weightlifter? Like the minute you see someone toss on weightlifting shoes and like hook grip knee sleeves, you're like, all right, I clocked you. What are you here for? Also, do you want to borrow one of our nicer barbells? Like,
That's awesome.
It happens. So it just, that kind of runs through. We ended up picking up some like expanding much more outside of weightlifting. So I have some competitive, like CrossFit athletes who do comps and stuff. We have a few strongmen who are competing, which was one I never anticipated getting into. And now I've been to nationals for like strongman, yelling at I call him my kid. He is older than me, to be clear, but he is my kid. He calls me mom. It's a whole thing. Most of our athletes, actually, I would say call me mom. They call us like mom and dad. I don't know how at like 24-year-old I have a bunch of kids who are older than me, but I do, and I'll own that. These are my children.
It's the wisdom you're bestowing upon your children.
So I think that kind of like informs the coaching relationship. Every athlete is a little bit different, so everyone gets a slightly different coach. It's like a running joke that I'm the mean coach, though, because I will not be hesitant if someone does something and I'm like, dude, that lift was trash. Like, you need to do that again. And then they will. And I'll be like, all right, that was better. Good. Like, fix it.
Yeah, that's great.
It's one of my, like, it became kind of a motto in our corner, our little corner of the gym with the platforms and all. But like, I've always, and it sounds like a joke, but it's one of my like tenets of life, is like, you have to suck before you can suck less. And like through and through, like you have to suck. It's gonna suck. Learning weightlifting, you are going to be terrible and you're gonna kind of hate it. I don't know anyone who doesn't. Learning something new, you are going to be bad at, kind of sucks. You gotta suck. And then you can suck less. Like, one of our athletes literally got a patch on his belt that says suck less.
That's awesome. When I did my L1, the head guy, the flow master, right, of the L1, I remember this was in like closing remarks, and he said, remember, in order to be a great coach, you must first be a bad coach. And I think about that all the time. That's exactly what you're talking about. Like, it's just like, it's a word, it's a wisdom thing. Like, you think about when you started and you were talking about, oh, like, you don't want to tell anyone that they're doing something wrong, and now you're like, you again, and
that lift
like,
was doo-doo. Try again. Make it better.
And they're like, okay, I'll do it again. And then they do it and it's better. And you're like, there you go.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's great. That's great. True, like a full circle moment. I feel like that is for you.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool.
Yeah, it made me think of another tenet, like success is sucking less.
That's good too.
Yeah,
I'm gonna get a big neon suck less in my gym now. Just a big neon sign now.
Fuck, it is said so frequently that it is a part of our gym culture. It's just like, we're
everyone's
just
screaming.
What are you doing today? Just trying to suck less, man. Like, yeah, I get that.
I love that.
That should be your shirt. You should do that. You should get some merch going.
Should get some merch going. That's a
good
idea, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. So I guess we're getting up to towards the end of our time here together. But one of the things that we always like to ask fellow coaches, this is whether it could be nutrition related or like performance related, Olympic lifting, powerlifting, CrossFit, whatever. What's a piece of advice that you really, really like to give people that they might not want to hear it, but you feel like they need to hear it? Is it everything you just said?
The risk of sounding repetitive. It really is. Like, getting people to be patient with themselves, I think, is something that coaches have to work on a lot, because a lot of people just want to be good at what they're doing. Like, that's why they're working at it. They want to be good at it. And the amount of time that it takes to do that is often more than they think. Like, the amount of time that it takes to get used to tracking your macros is more than I thought it would. I was like, this is fine. I got a portable food scale. We're good to go. No, that's not like that. It takes like an actual amount of effort. And now it is way easier. And now I can be like, okay, like I can finesse. I just knocked out my proteins for the week. So I'll measure those out. They're in little bit individual portions, and I can finesse the rest of my day around it because I didn't have time to like actually prep. Easy. Right. But like, starting out, I was so stressed. Like, I have no idea what to do. I don't know what to eat. What can I eat? Am I going to be eating enough? Do I just need to be eating boiled chicken and baby spinach? Like, that's how my sister used to weight cut. And that was terrible. You don't have to eat boiled chicken and baby spinach to weight cut, or like to sustainably lose weight. Just putting that one out there. But I think that's like a big part of what I try and instill in my athletes, is being able to like be patient and have grace with yourself as you're working through things. And that's not just with weightlifting. Like, all throughout life, people want to be good at things. They want to succeed. And it generally is going to take a little bit more work and a little bit more time than like what your vision is. So, that's my words of wisdom.
I love it.
Yeah. It's so relevant to everything. not just fitness and nutrition. Like you said, like everything's going to suck at first. Nothing you got good at, did you do that overnight? In rare instances anyway, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like firmly stand by the fact that, like, again, most of my experience is weightlifting for myself, but it truly is like a metaphor for any kind of like things you're going through in life, like your struggles, your strife, etc. Like I feel like weightlifting has made me a much more resilient person, just because you have to constantly suck. You are failing all the time. Like you can't be afraid to miss a lift.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're not missing lifts, you're not actually pushing yourself.
So true. If you're not reaching for it, you're not going to achieve it. Plain and simple. That's amazing. All right, Josh, well, how do you feel about that, man?
That's another, like we were talking about with Dom. There's just
Right?
like there's some notes that there's just things that people say, and you're like, well, that's it. That's done. It's not going to get any better than that. So that's a great way to end the show today. Real quick before we sign off, if you are interested in getting one-on-one nutrition coaching, please check out workingagainstgravity.com/join and use Tatum's code, would you? Come on.
Yeah.
It's not hard. Tatum 50. It's that easy, gang. Put it in the space at checkout and you'll be glad you did. All right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be great. You can work with me, you can work with Chris, you can work with Nicole, Tatum's coach, you can work with any one of our wonderful coaches that we have on staff. And yeah, it'll be a good thing. It'll be a good thing for you to do.
No regrets.
No regrets.
No regrets.
Yeah. Tatum, thank you so much for hanging out with us today and sharing so much wisdom and so many cool stories. Really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, of course. And we'll see y'all next time.